All right. Oh no, we don't want that. All right. So, welcome officially, Kim and Elaine to the Art of Letting Go Zoom room, and to anyone else who's joining us on live stream, welcome. So, I'm just going to share my screen, and we'll dive into today's quote to kick it off, which will lead us into some teaching around that quote and today's lesson, which is quite a short review lesson. Was not a lot to read, so we might have some time for the text as well. All right, so let's jump into it, shall we? Okay, let's make that a bit bigger. Where are we? Zoom it in. Okay, and let me share my screen with you. We'll go to there. Right, there we go. Okay, so if one of you can read that quote from Isaac Newton, one of the greatest scientists of all time, who wrote this towards the end of his life, about his life, reflection on his life, his accomplishments, which was quite remarkable, really, given the level of success. He was the greatest scientist of his generation, revered by scientists and yeah, anyone in the know about science. Newton was it. He was like Einstein became in his lifetime. But this is what he had to say about himself and his knowledge. So why don't you read that?
Do you want to read it, Kim, or I'll read it? Yeah, I'll read it. I do not know what I may appear to the world, but to myself I seem to have been only like a boy playing on the seashore and diverting myself in now and then finding a smoother pebble or a prettier shell than ordinary, whilst the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me. Yeah.
It's quite a humble, very, very humble to say that. You're the greatest scientist, one of the greatest minds, thinkers of your generation, and you say this. So what most people don't know is that he was actually into alchemy. He had this sort of dual thing. He had physics going on the one hand, but he was an alchemist on the other.
Don't worry, Dave.
So this was his alchemical side coming through, saying, "Well, I didn't really even scratch the surface of the truth. The laws of physics that I've discovered, um, are not the truth." That's what he's really saying, which any scientist would do well to really pay attention to this quote, saying that laws that seem to govern the physical universe, which gave rise to what has come to be known as Newtonian physics, really this isn't true. And he admits that he's clueless and ignorant of the truth. A very humble attitude that anyone would do well to adopt. Scientists take note. Because when we think we know the truth already or can find it in the trivial pursuits the world offers us, our minds cannot be open to the great ocean of truth, as he so poetically puts it. So that brings us to consider another scientific theory called quantum mechanics that says exactly the opposite of what Newton postulated, which is that there are objective, fixed physical laws governing a reality that operates independently of the observer who is seemingly subject to them. Quantum mechanics turns this fundamental premise that underlies all of Newtonian physics on its head by demonstrating in numerous experiments repeated in multiple laboratories around the world. So this isn't a once-off experiment. These experiments have been done thousands of times in different laboratories, and they get the same results, which then indicates that there's some underlying fundamental laws that these experiments are reflecting. So this is what the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics makes of these experimental results. It is an interpretation, which is interesting in itself, because Newtonian physics is saying there's no room for interpretation. This is reality and it's fact. Now we enter the domain of interpretation and perception. Well, what do these results actually mean? That's the question. So science and spirituality, they're not that far apart. One of you read that, then Kim, you didn't read the last one. So if you can read that.
Sure. There is no reality in the absence of observation. So observation creates reality.
Very powerful insight. There is no reality in the absence of observation. So observation creates reality. Okay, so what is this really saying? That reality is in the eye of the beholder, that reality is perceptual, that reality is dependent on the observer for its reality. Does this not sound familiar? This sounds like Course in Miracles. It sounds like some other spiritual teaching. The very act of observing creates reality. What we call reality in the dream world, in the illusion. So there's no objective reality out there. The observer and what is observed are really integrally linked. You can't separate them. So this isn't the only interpretation of quantum mechanics, but it's one of the oldest and most accepted in the scientific community, called the Copenhagen interpretation. Because when they started getting these results 100 years ago, they had to try and make sense of them. And so there were various interpretations that try to make sense of the results, Copenhagen interpretation being the most common one. In the last 50 years or so, many so-called New Age teachers and teachings have latched onto quantum mechanics to support their theories related to how manifestation works and attract more followers. So you've noticed people say, oh, it's the quantum this, and the quantum that, is the quantum, and they're kind of using it as a way of attracting people into, oh, this is somehow got to do with quantum mechanics, and this is very advanced. But the truth is that even the quantum world is still part of an illusory projection of the mind we call the physical universe. So seeking to explain, quote, reality according to its laws, which science has been trying to do since its formulation 100 years ago, is just more playing with the pebbles and shells on the shores of time and space, as Newton said in his quote, to distract us from the great ocean of truth that lies dormant and undiscovered within them and everyone. So just another, that's how the ego works. Quantum mechanics, just another distraction. Now we say, now we've reached the truth. But it's a deeper level of an illusion, you understand? Quantum mechanics reveals the mechanics of the illusion. And if you can see the mechanics of the illusion, then you can see the truth. So it's one step closer, big step closer than Newtonian physics is to the truth. But it's not itself the truth, but it can be appointed to the truth. So Niels Bohr is a Danish physicist who made foundational contributions to understanding atomic structure and quantum theory in the 1920s. He was one of there were 3 or 4 primary thinkers and scientists who sort of birthed it, and Niels Bohr was one of them. Heisenberg and Schrödinger, these are the sort of famous quantum physicists who brought it into common awareness. So he remarked that, one of you read that quote kindly. Elaine, I think.
Anyone who is not shocked by quantum theory has not understood it.
Yeah. So what he's saying is this is mind-blowing. That there's this profound something really mysterious, not understandable going on, because it is saying exactly what all the mystics have said for thousands of years. You're living in a dream world. That's what quantum mechanics is really saying. There is no reality in the absence of observation. So observation creates reality, i.e., you're living in a dream world. You're dreaming and you're seeing the projections of your own mind out there, but they're not really out there. They're actually in your own mind. In the mind of the observer lies the whole reality of the universe. That's what quantum mechanics is saying. So yeah, you haven't really understood it if it doesn't shock you. And these scientists grappled with it. One of them, I think it was either Heisenberg or Schrödinger, said, I wish I'd never had anything to do with it at the end of his life. I wish I'd never got into quantum mechanics and quantum theory, because it's shocking. It's because it causes you to question the nature of reality itself. What's reality? And who am I within that reality? So it's a path to awakening. It's another path to awakening, because all paths lead to the truth in the end. So I was listening to a talk by a guy called David Tong, who's a professor of theoretical physics, giving the talk at Cambridge, a 1 hour lecture, and he said this one simple sentence, which was, he said very quickly. I had to rewind and play it a couple of times and write it down. But this is what he said about 2/3 of the way into the talk, and then just immediately went on, didn't really pause for breath. So Kim, if you can read that kindly.
We don't understand at all how the physical universe, started. We don't understand what kicked it all off at the time t equals 0.
Yeah. So he says that, and then without a pause for breath, literally spoke very quickly, just carries on. So he doesn't explore this great unknown reality, right? He's saying at time t equals 0, i.e., there is no time, right? This is a timeless or eternal state. No, eternity means no time, not loads and loads of time. Eternity means no time. So that's time t equals 0. We have no clue. That's a stunning admission. Okay, so there's a whole reality there that you don't understand, that you have no clue about, that none of your laws can really describe. And you say that in one sentence, and then you just carry on. So he moves swiftly on with explaining what science knows about the known universe of time and space that has evolved since then, stating that the goal of quantum physicists is now to understand the physical universe better by refining what they call the standard model into a grand unified theory that unifies the 4 fundamental forces of gravity, electromagnetism, and the strong and weak nuclear forces in the universe. And this was Einstein's goal in the second half of his stellar career, but he never achieved it, because it's impossible to find total unity in the projection of the idea of separation, which is all this physical universe really is. So Einstein had this goal, but he never found it, and no one ever will, because how do you find a grand unified theory in the projection of separation? You're looking in the wrong place, aren't you? You're looking in the domain of separation for unity, and you have to look beyond it to see unity. So David Tong's oversight brings to mind this very insightful quote by Winston Churchill, which I've quoted because it came to mind when I was writing this. So Elaine, if you can read that, please.
Men occasionally stumble over the truth, but most of them pick themselves up and hurry off as if nothing had happened.
And I think that's probably one that women wouldn't like to be included in. Would you agree? That's where you don't really want gender equality. We'll leave that to the men. Yeah. So you occasionally stumble over the truth, as he did, and then just hurry off and pick themselves up and hurry off as if nothing had happened. That's exactly what he did. He stumbled over the truth, didn't give it a moment's thought, said that profound sentence, and then just carried on, explaining what we know about the known universe of time and space. So if we go into here, where are we? What he just did there is he jumped. So momentarily, for a moment in that talk, he went here, right? He went into time t equals 0 is timelessness, eternity, and he just hinted at that reality in that sentence. And then he jumped back in here and went, okay, but let's talk about after the time of the Big Bang, after the moment of separation, let's talk about the known universe and all of its laws, and quantum theory fits within that, without realizing what he'd just done. He just literally stumbled over the truth and then just carried on as if nothing had ever happened. So Churchill's quote very appropriate there. But actually what he did was enormously profound. If he'd dwelt there and went, okay, well, let's just pause for thought there. What does that actually mean? At time t equals 0, we're clueless. We don't understand anything. All of our laws, all of our science, all of our models break down. What does that actually mean? Well, maybe we should just contemplate that for a while. Then there's a path to awakening there. Do you see that? And that's where science took people like Albert Einstein into glimpses of this. How deeply he went into it, I don't know, but there were certainly glimpses of it, and that comes through in some of his quotes, like the optical delusion of consciousness one, which we can read actually. That's because it's relevant here. So let's read the. There you go. Whose turn is Kim? If you can read that, human being is part of the whole.
Human being is part of the whole, caused by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, kind of optical delusion of consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. Albert Einstein.
So he's telling us this is an optical delusion of consciousness we're living in. And it's a prison for us. And we must break free of this prison to embrace all living creatures in the whole of nature and its beauty. What he's talking about there is love. This could have been a quote from a spiritual master, no doubt. So he's come to the same conclusion as the great spiritual masters of the world through his study of science. He was the one scientist who transcended the limitations of science. He started to become much more of a philosopher than a scientist in his latter career. And the scientists go, well, in the second part of his career, he didn't do much scientifically. No, he'd already done that in the first part, theory of relativity, and he did other work with photons and light, and he won one Nobel Prize. And people went, why didn't he win a Nobel Prize for the theory of relativity? That was like one of the travesties. He should have won several. But then I think he kind of hit a block and he went, well, where do I go? Okay, so I've got all these amazing theories about time and space, but he started to look beyond time and space to the eternal. I want to know the mind of God, he said. All the rest is details. Where was that quote? I want to know the mind of God, he said. I want to know God's thoughts. The rest are details. You see? So he's asking, he's trying to go to the eternal. He's trying to reach beyond time and space to the eternal. And that's what made him quite a unique scientist, because he went beyond the domain of science into philosophy. and started to ask these kinds of eternal questions, which shows you that science can be a path to awakening. Because you get to a point where you go, well, it still doesn't really make sense. I reach the limits of the ego consciousness, and then I start to have to transcend them to get further up, to get higher, to get more insights and understanding, which is what he started to do. But most don't, as we saw with David Tong, you know, as bright as he is on one level, on another, he's just totally missed the point. And overlook the truth. Nevertheless, if you want to listen to the whole talk, it's there. Quantum fields gives you an understanding of the illusion, right? Understanding how the illusion works, understanding all this can be helpful to transcend it. Just don't get lost in it. What scientists like him do is they get lost in it because they think it's the truth. They think it's reality. If you said to him, this isn't really reality, and all your theories and models are models of a false world, that would probably challenge him a lot, and most scientists it would. They struggle with that. That's why Niels Bohr said, if you really understand it, you'd be shocked at what it's saying. But very few people do, even though he studied quantum mechanics. Does he realize what it's really saying? I think very few do, because you have to open your mind and go, okay, I've got to let go of my own ego and my own sense of being a separate person, trying to interpret this data from the perspective of a separate self, which means you have to start awakening yourself, not just intellect. It's the desire and the willingness to awaken. So why do seemingly highly intelligent people like David Tong, Isaac Newton, and many other scientists, never mind the billions of people for whom quantum physics is completely incomprehensible? I once gave a talk on it to some people it was a paid engagement. They were at a company, and they just looked at me as though I was talking Greek. They were like, "What are you talking about?" They had no idea. It was like no one came back for the second part of the talk because it was like just like no. I said, are you like a PhD or something? No idea. So you know, even never mind normal people, but even scientists don't really understand this. Why? Why do they consistently overlook the evidence for the great truth that lies beyond their limited theories about reality, and continue to look for truth in a false reality, which ensures they will never find it? Because the unknown is scary to the ego, which is just their belief in separation and related sense of being a separate self, but seeks to preserve itself by overlooking the truth, as it must. Because truth would undo their belief in separation's existence in their mind and the associated belief they are a separate self. So it's the ego coming in and defending itself. Because believe it or not, scientists have egos too. They might deny it, but there are very few, maybe Einstein was one of them, very few scientists who are awakening. He was quite unique in that he was actually genuinely awakening. And maybe people like Newton, he was also maybe towards the end of his life starting to awaken, but very few do. It requires a very advanced mind to do that and transcend all the limits of science. So I'm not defined by this scientific theory that I've spent my life studying and teaching and learning and perfecting. I'm not defined by that. Actually, there's something beyond it. That's the great ocean of truth that lies beyond the known theories, seeking to explain this universe and what seems to happen in it. Because if you know this, you will cease to exist as an apparently separate entity and become one with this great ocean of truth. It means that it's game over for your ego. That becoming one with the great ocean of truth is enlightenment, is the end goal of all the great spiritual teachings, and religion at its core is teaching that. How do you merge and become one with the great ocean of truth? So the reason we practice and we read the mind training exercise, the Course in Miracles, and we do other spiritual practices is that we need to undo our massive unconscious resistance to the truth, to allow it to reveal itself little by little to our confused and deluded minds that have convinced themselves that this universe based on made-up false laws is reality, to perpetuate our belief in an equally false self-concept which is our ego that's completely based on our belief in separation. So the practice is just because we got so much resistance to the truth. The truth is actually really simple, but we resist it, we deny it, we don't want to see it, because if we really accept it, then that's the end of us as a separate self. And anyone who says that's not scary, when you first contemplate that and realize what's going on, is lying. I remember when I first started understanding this about 10 years ago, I remember going, Jesus, Jono, this stuff's going to kill you. I remember that I said exactly that to myself. Kill you, being the separate self. And then, my higher mind, higher awareness, the Holy Spirit answered, well, that's kind of the whole point, isn't it? Did you really think you were going to go to enlightenment with your separate self or ego intact? You know the theory, but this is what it actually means. Are you really willing to go there and let this all go and collapse it, undo it? That's the question. And most people are not, but that's the only way. So given we're pointing to the great ocean of truth, and the ultimate experience of that is called samadhi in the Eastern tradition, Yeshua calls it revelation in A Course in Miracles. We call it the state of pure formless awareness, in which there is no awareness of time and space. We have today's workbook lesson, as well as a bonus recording of a session we did where we considered the question of what is samadhi and how to experience it. So I can really recommend that. It was a good session, if I recall. In brief, to summarize it, samadhi is the state of this pure formless awareness. It's when you are in the state of pure formless awareness, when there's nothing else going on in your mind. You're just purely in this pure formless awareness of perfect love. This is called revelation in A Course in Miracles. There's no other awareness. There's no awareness of time and space. Duality fades away, and you just rest in God. It's another way the Course phrases it. And this is the enlightened state that all the great spiritual teachers and teachings point to, which it is our task to realize experientially. So watch the video or listen to the podcast to dive further into that. We can discuss it now briefly if you want. And that brings us to our discussion and where we are now, ready to dive into the workbook lesson. So yeah, any comments, thoughts, or questions on any of this, including the ideas of samadhi, revelation? Would you like to explore any of it? These teachings around quantum physics. Can you see how this can be a great pointer to the truth if you interpret it correctly? That science then becomes, in the same way as other spiritual teachings, can become a path, a spiritual path back to the truth, if you see it correctly. As it was for Einstein, as Newton hints, right? What is he saying? He's saying, well, for all of my great accomplishments in this world of science, and I've formulated the laws of physics, which then the whole industrial revolution was based on these laws. He didn't really think very much of those accomplishments, did he? Well, I was just kind of playing around on the seashore like a little boy, and I hadn't really even scratched the surface of truth, because he knew there was something deeper and higher, which was calling him his whole life. And but he had a formal academic career. He was a professor at Cambridge, and so he would have needed to produce stuff, and obviously these ideas were coming to him, and he brought them to light, but he realized that there was maybe a deeper truth that they weren't discovering. And that deeper truth has revealed itself several hundred years later in quantum mechanics. And then you go beyond quantum mechanics to what David Tong is saying. We don't understand. At time t equals 0, quantum mechanics, Big Bang theory, cosmology, all these sciences fail us. We end up at a timeless, eternal state in which all these rules and laws and models and equations break down. And then what? What is that? So that's the spiritual path, right? That's where all of this inquiry leads you And if he was brave enough, he would have explored that and gone, well, that's really an interesting question. Why don't we spend the rest of the lecture on that rather than on the standard model based in time and space? But he didn't have the understanding or the awareness to do that. And his audience probably would have gone, well, hang on, we came to hear about quantum theory. We didn't come to hear about spirituality and, eternity, even though actually maybe they did on another level. That would have made the lecture into something transformational and transcendent rather than just describing the laws of time and space. But even within that, he touched on it. There was a glimpse of it in this quote. This quote is like a little glimpse down one of these blue arrows into eternity, a touch on it, and then it's just like, well, we'll just go back into the domain of time and space and go further down the ladder into separation and assume that separation is real. And now we're going to try and describe separation. And all of the seemingly very complex and sophisticated laws, we're going to try and describe all that and model that. And that's what he then went into talking about, rather than just go, but actually up here, it's very, very simple. Why don't we go explore that instead? So the mystics and the great spiritual masters have done that. And other lesser minds have done this and gone, well, let's try and define and refine time and space, the laws of illusion, in a more and more refined way. And so it gets increasingly complex at this level. And only going up here to the top of the ladder and going beyond the idea of separation simplifies it. Okay. So, any other thoughts or comments or questions on any of that? Happy to discuss it further, or we can go into today's workbook lesson, which I should have prepared as well for, which is along the same lines. Should we
Just
do
a
that?
question.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Winston Churchill quote. You
Yeah.
said something about women wouldn't like it. I didn't quite get that.
I said this is something that women wouldn't like gender equality in the
Oh,
sense
men. Oh, men
that it
occasionally
says men,
struggle.
yes.
Oh, okay.
So this is
Yeah,
one
okay.
instance. I was just making a joke because normally women are, well, why
Yeah,
does it
yeah.
men and women? No, women probably wouldn't want to be included in here because it's not very
Yeah.
friendly at all. It's like
Okay, okay.
stumble off
I get
and
it now. Sorry.
yeah.
I was a bit
Most of them
okay,
pick
no worries.
themselves up and hurry off as if nothing had happened, exactly as David Tong did. Just didn't register this profound truth that he touched on and just went carried on as if nothing had ever happened. So maybe women are more thoughtful. I think possibly they are. Men tend to be a bit more, analytical and in the mind, more female, feminine kind of way of dealing with it would say, okay, well, he's saying this. Why don't we just contemplate that? Let's pause and let's just sit with that, repeat it, meditate on it. Say, well, what does that mean? We don't understand at all how the physical universe started. We don't understand what kicked it all off at time t=0, i.e., we're clueless. We don't have any real understanding. As Rupert Sheldrake says, well, modern science just makes one massive assumption that all matter and energy in the universe was created in a blinding flash, an explosion called the Big Bang, and then they formulate all kinds of theories and models from there. But they have no idea what started that and why it all happened. It's a pretty major problem, isn't it, really, in your theory? Okay, so you have no clue what started it all. You have no clue of why it all kicked off, but you just ignore all that and then you go into trying to explain the how of how it all happened after that. And that's really the approach of modern science. And people like Rupert Sheldrake are brave enough to criticize it and say, well, this isn't smart. If you don't know why it's happened, you actually don't know anything. Your whole theory has a massive hole in it, doesn't it? But they don't contemplate that because it goes beyond the physical. There's no answer within their laws. You have to go into the metaphysical. You have to go in beyond the domain of science into philosophy to answer that question, don't you? So then they have to become philosophers and not scientists, and that makes them deeply uncomfortable because they have knowledge and expertise. Once beyond time t equals 0, they now know all kinds of things and they can model. They've got mathematical equations and they've got standard models and very smart. But at time t equals 0, they're as clueless as anyone else. They have no idea, as he candidly admitted. So then your guess is as good as mine. Your theory is as good as mine, isn't it? So they lose the specialness that science bestows on them post-separation. Now do you see where the ego comes in? Because the ego is about specialness. So now their personal identity as a scientist who's very special and knowledgeable and knows more than anyone else is under threat, because at time t equals 0, they have to relinquish that and admit that they're as clueless as anyone else. But in that humility might be their awakening. The people who are willing to do that awaken because they realize, well, I don't actually know anything. And so now I'm open to experiencing this transcendent dimension of pure awareness, because I admit that I'm clueless and I don't know anything. And I've given up the intellectual mind's futile pursuits to try and reason and rationalize and explain what is actually inexplicable and what is actually illusory. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The reason why scientists don't go there is because they have their own egos they're trying to defend and protect. And obviously this threatens that whole egoic structure.
Yeah.
And they have egos, as quantum mechanics says, reality is reality and the observer are not independent. There is no reality in the absence of observation. So this entire world of duality, the illusion, is only made real by the observer that's observing it. Well, what if the observer isn't even real? This is the question that mystics like Yeshua asked. Well, what if the observer that's observing all of this isn't even real? What then? What does that say about reality? Well, it's all illusory, isn't it? If the observer, if this consciousness isn't even real, the consciousness that it's observing its own projection isn't even real, then the whole thing is illusory. It doesn't even exist. It's a dream. Exactly what all the mystics have said. And all that's left is a pure awareness beyond consciousness, beyond any separation, beyond any idea of a separate self, which is God. And that is the pure awareness that we actually always were and still are, but have denied with this idea that we somehow are separate from it. And now you're starting to get to the nub of the matter, to the truth, which is what all the great spiritual masters have done, are really considering these questions and going into them deeply and facing these difficult questions without fear and going, okay, well, let's go into this awareness. Let's explore this. This is what the mystics do. Let's experience this in samadhi, revelation, and let's come back to time and space with this expanded knowledge. As Ralph Waldo Emerson says, dive deep and swim far, and you shall come back with an expanded experience. Yeah, there you go. I'm going to read that. Be not the slave of your own past.
Me.
Yeah, if you want to read that, Kim.
Okay. Be not the slave of your own past. Plunge into the sublime seas. Dive deep and swim far. So you shall come back with new self-respect, with new power, and with an advanced experience that shall explain and overlook the old.
So this is he's talking about the hero's journey. He's talking about awakening. Dive deep into where? Dive deep into the truth. Swim far. Where? Not physically, into the depths of your being. And then you come back with new self-respect, with new power, and with an advanced experience that shall explain and overlook the old. It's exactly what all the great spiritual teachers have done. They then come back and they say, look, I've been there and I can now describe it. And I come back with this advanced experience that can help others. to have that same experience and to transcend the limits of their narrow egoic thought. So to summarize this model that really summarizes in graphic form the course's teachings is the only theory that really explains the origin of the universe and the world in a clear, quite concise and rational way. Science doesn't explain that. It can't give us the reason for the existence of the universe. They don't have a clue. This explains it and says, well, it was a tiny mad idea, that's all. An idea held in the mind of separation, which is the fall from grace, that birthed what we call the ego or consciousness or the universal mind, belief in separation. The religious traditions call it Satan. And that idea then leads to the creation of the entire physical universe and the Big Bang. But it comes out of the guilt and the sin that this mind is now feeling, the intensity of that emotion now projected outward as anger and rage, the fear of punishment, trying to run away, all of that emotional intensity creates the split in the mind that we call the Big Bang, where now the mind projects all of this thought outwards and seemingly creates a physical universe out of that projection. What is energy? It's just projected thought. The universe begins to look more like a great thought than a great machine, said one of the early quantum physicists called James Jeans. It's a great thought, right? This is all thought. So it's a projection of thought outwards, but that thought, this is where the Course and Yeshua give us a higher insight into it. That thought is not real because it's coming from an idea of separation. It's not real. So now you have an explanation for the origin of the universe and therefore of all life and everything that subsequently happened in it that starts to make some sense. And you go, okay, well, now this explains why we are where we are. And it also gives us the way out. Well, if the whole thing was created by an idea of separation and separation isn't true, we just have to realize that. We have to deny the separation is true. And we have to go back to the original awareness that preceded that, which is God, or pure formless awareness of perfect love, perfect oneness that preceded separation. Oh, now we have a way out. Do you see why understanding the metaphysics is so important? Because if you don't understand these metaphysics and accept them, you don't know the way out. You just get caught up in the dream, going round and around, trying to fix the dream, trying to make your life better in a dream, failing repeatedly, eventually suffering and dying. And then you just come back and you reincarnate into another form, whether that's human or animal or whatever, and you just keep going around and around. That's the cycle of birth and death that they talk about in the East. Until you realize, but none of this is really true. It's just based on a false idea of separation. And I can let go of that idea. I don't have to believe it anymore. That takes you back home to your original awareness, which we call God or oneness or pure formless awareness of perfect love in our alternative language. And you rest there. You rest in God, beyond the idea of separation. Now you've transcended it all. Now you've returned your mind home to its true awareness. And that is the purpose of human life. That's the meaning of life. And that is what every great spiritual teacher and teaching have taught since time immemorial, that your only purpose is to go back to this awareness, which is already within you, but the problem is you've denied it, so you don't think it's within you. You think you've now denied it, and it's blocked, and it's nowhere, and you've lost God, and this is terrible, and you're living in hell, in this nightmare of guilt and sin and fear and attack and all the projections of it, accusation, blame, and attack, and now you think you're a victim, living a helpless, enervated little life, which is hell of limitation, lack, loneliness, suffering, and inevitably death. And you think all of this is real because you believed one tiny mad idea. It was untrue. Once you start waking up to that, that's awakening. You go, well, actually, I can just drop that whole idea, drop the delusion of a separate self, let go of the world, let go of my separate self, and I'm free. I just free float in pure formless awareness of perfect love. Time t equals 0. I can go back to that. And the mystics have and do. That's what samadhi is. It's a timeless state. I've been here very briefly, albeit. It was a few minutes probably of time, but I have no idea how long it was because there was no time. There was no sense of time passing. But there is no time in that state. It's just pure awareness. And we can go there. We can go there and experience that. And that is going to bring us a different perspective on all of this. When I had that experience, I would say for the first time, I really understood this. I came back, had a download, and suddenly this all made sense. And I just kind of downloaded it and I got it on a sort of non-intellectual, emotional level. I understood finally what it was really saying. And that's exactly what Ralph Waldo Emerson is talking about. Dive deep and swim far, and you will come back. The sublime seas. What's he talking about? Pure formless awareness. Come back with new self-respect, with new power, with advanced experience, explain and overlook the old. Which is exactly what happened in my case, and probably the case of every spiritual teacher who's ever had some kind of mystic experience. They come back with new power and advanced experience that explains and overlooks the old, and then they become teachers, and they can teach this wisdom to others to help them to do the same thing, which is exactly what's going on right here, right now. Okay, so it's quite a long answer to your question, Kim. But any other questions? I hope that does that answer the question, and you got more than you bargained for, probably.
Yeah, no, because I think what I just asked about the turtle boat, right?
Yeah, but then it just set me off on a more of an exploration of this. But it's fascinating when you go into the stuff. Can you start to see how it all comes together? That science and spirituality start merging into one truth, and that you can start understanding that truth, whichever perspective you look at it from. It brings you to the same truth, the same awareness. So if you have a scientifically minded friend, just talk to them about quantum physics. They can't deny that. That's one of the two biggest theories that came out of the last century, that has been shown experimentally to be true. So anyone who's into science will accept it. And you go, okay, well, what is that actually saying? What's the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics really saying? And now you enter the domain of philosophy and spirituality so you have a portal to that, don't you? Because that quote is really saying, read between the lines, it's a dream. You're dreaming. It's an illusion, right? That's what he's saying, which is why Niels Bohr says anyone who's not shocked by quantum theory hasn't understood it properly. So these guys were touching the truth, but it shocked them, and the world still hasn't caught up. The world still doesn't understand it. Most people don't even understand quantum mechanics, never mind the truth it points to beyond that. From a non-dual perspective. This is awakening, this is awakened knowledge. But more and more people are starting to, because if you start connecting all the dots, as I've done in this email, it starts making sense, doesn't it? You're going, well, this is all pointing to a truth that is transcendent, that no matter how much the scientists try, with the scientific materialist paradigm, they can't really deny it, because actually they don't know how it all started. They don't understand what kicked it all off. So how can you say you understand when you don't? You don't know. So there's this whole unknown domain that mystics and philosophers and so on have tried to answer this question. Because you can't answer it scientifically. You can only answer it philosophically, because all the scientific models break down there. All right, so let's practice, shall we? Let's go into the lesson, see how it's connected to this, because the first bit is I am spirit, or I am pure formless awareness, and I accept my part in perfect love's plan for awakening. Okay, so let's jump into this. Let's read it. It's going to start this, and then yeah. So one of you read the original, and another one reads the alternative sentence by sentence, kindly. So, Kim, do you want to kick it off with the original, and then Elaine follows suit with the alternative?
Okay. I am spirit.
I am pure formless awareness.
I am the Son of God.
Oops. Oh, yeah. I am the extension of pure formless awareness.
Nobody can contain my spirit or impose on me a limitation God created not.
Nobody can contain my pure formless awareness nor impose on me a limitation of which pure formless awareness is not aware.
And then from the top. So when you say nobody, don't say nobody, say nobody, and just see how that changes it for you, because there's an emphasis then on the
Okay,
body.
yeah. I am the extension of pure formless awareness. No body can contain my pure formless awareness, nor impose on me a limitation of which pure formless awareness is not aware. So it's just saying we're everything that pure formless awareness is, whatever it is, we are. And there's not one body can contain pure formless awareness or impose any limitation on this pure formless awareness.
Yeah.
Is not aware. Yeah.
So it's a statement of pure formless awareness, a statement of transcending the body, saying the body isn't real, the body doesn't limit you, there is an awareness that's beyond the body. I am spirit says you're not physical, you're not material. And so there's no compromise. This is where the Course and other non-dual teachings are amazing. They don't compromise. They don't say you body, mind, and spirit. They say you are only spirit. You are only this pure formless awareness. And really, there is no body. The body is illusory. So it doesn't try and reconcile mind and body and pure formless awareness and body. It's saying you can't. Right? If one is real, then the other's not. If the body's real, then there is no spirit. There is no pure formless awareness. The body denies it. And if pure formless awareness is real, then the body must be illusory. Right? You see the logical dichotomy between the positions. So you can't have body, mind, and spirit reconciling in one reality. That attempt to reconcile the irreconcilables, the egos. That's why we've put ourselves into bodies, and we keep trying to do this, reconcile the irreconcilable. There's many teachings and theories that will say, yeah, well, you triune, you both body, mind, and spirit, and all of those are real. But how can you be pure formless awareness that's deathless and eternal, and also be a body that can die? There's a clear contradiction there, isn't there? How are both of those possible in reality? Because they contradict each other. So this is what this is saying. I am just pure formless awareness and nothing else. So it's really saying, if we look at integral model, let's go and have a look at that quickly. You see that really it's saying that this domain isn't really real. There we go. Integral model. This external, anything in the exterior, the objective, interobjective, the its and the its that are external to the mind, the body, physical. This is saying I'm spirit says these aren't really real. These are illusory. The only thing that's real ultimately is the I am, right? The subjective interior experience. We call thoughts, emotions, memories, states of mind, perceptions, immediate sensations. But beyond those, there's a sense of a presence and awareness that is not limited by thoughts and emotions. That just is, right? The I am that is timeless, nameless, changeless, that underlies all thoughts and emotions. And that is what they all point to. When we climb up the ladder and we go beyond the boundaries of the model into this space, that's pure formless awareness. Beyond levels, beyond limits, beyond anything. That's God. That's pure formless awareness of perfect love. And all of this just drops away. The entire model, idea of quadrants, the idea of an external and an interior and an exterior and an individual and a collective, all of that drops away and merges into the unity of perfect oneness or pure formless awareness. And that's really what the quote is pointing to. So these are really, really simple quotes, and the reviews are really, really simple. But he's done that by design, because just by contemplating a simple idea, it can take us into the most profound states of awareness. But you don't need lots of words. You just need pointers to that state of pure formless awareness, and an invitation to enter into that awareness yourself. That awareness is revelation, samadhi. That awareness is home, heaven, where you're completely at home, you're completely cared for, loved, safe, secure, and none of the illusions of the separate self, including the body, really exist there. Okay, so any other comments or thoughts, questions, remarks on I am spirit, I am pure formless awareness? First review lesson for today.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, so very profound. It's my last comment on that. It's just, such a profound lesson. This lesson alone, just a simple review lesson, points you directly to the truth. This is enough to awaken your mind entirely if you fully got it and you fully went into the experience that the words point you to. You would fully awaken. I am spirit would fully awaken you to the experience of who you really are. As this, we describe it as spirit or pure formless awareness. In the end, the words don't really matter because they're just pointers to the truth. I use pure formless awareness because I think it's maybe a slightly better pointer than spirit. People often get confused about spirit and they think spirit has some kind of identity, Holy Spirit and so on. This has some kind of individual identity, but it's not. It doesn't have an individual identity. It's just pure awareness. It's just what you're made out of. Pure formless awareness that is you. Okay. So let's go on to number 2 then. Second review lesson. Let's switch it. So Elaine, you read the original and Kim read the alternative, sentence by sentence. There's only 2 sentences actually to read in this one.
I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation.
I accept my part in perfect love's plan for awakening.
What can my function be but to accept the word of God, who has created me for what I am and will forever be?
What can my function be but to accept the message of perfect love, which has extended me as I truly am and will forever be? So read it again. Jono?
Yeah, just read it again, Kim.
What can my function be but to accept the message of perfect love, which has extended me as I truly am and will forever be? To me, it's surrendering, and I take the acceptance as surrendering and taking in the message and function to be love and to extend it words, because that's who we are, what we are.
It's a very profound lesson, really. Because I'm spirit, I'm pure. This is our true identity. It's saying this is who we truly are. So everything comes from there. But then in the next lesson, he's saying, but I must accept my part in this plan for awakening. There is a in time and space, this process of awakening happening, and that's my function while I'm here. So you could say this is meaning. I am spirit. I am pure form. The meaning of life is um, to wake up to this, to realize who you really are. And you always have been that, but you've just forgotten it. So, and now your purpose in life is to surrender to your plan, your part in the plan for awakening, not just for yourself, but for everyone. Accept my part in perfect love's plan for awakening says that there is a higher plan. God, perfect love, has this plan which has extended me and everyone, and my part is just to accept my part in this bigger plan. So now I become divinely inspired. Now my thoughts, my words, my actions are directed by perfect love to serve its plan of awakening, and that then becomes your true purpose. So it goes from being who I really am to, okay, now what is my function or my purpose? And you need both. This is great. But while you're here, there's going to be this plan for awakening that's unfolding. And you're either going to join that plan or you're going to resist it. And this is saying, well, surrender to it, right? Surrender your life to it. The word Islam or Muslim means someone who has surrendered their life to God. It's that idea of surrender. I've surrendered my life to this divine purpose of awakening to who I really am. Because right now I don't know who I really am. I might have some idea. I can read I am pure formless awareness, but I have all kinds of other things going on in my mind that are not pure formless awareness. Let's be honest about it. I still think I'm Kim or Elaine or Jono, and I've still got my personal issues and some fears and insecurities and doubts and worries and dreams and hopes. And I've got all that still going on some level. So my job is to awaken to the pure formless awareness beyond that. And there's a plan for that. For my awakening that merges with everyone else's awakening. Because it's one plan. And when you start to play your part in the plan, then you become a teacher of God, and miraculous things start happening. You know, as we saw with the lives of enlightened masters like the Buddha and Yeshua and others, they start to have an impact on many, many more people than just their friends and family, because they're playing their part in the plan for awakening, and so that plan wants to extend to every mind, right? The God's plan for awakening is that every single mind awakens to the truth of what it is. It's not leaving out anyone. So that's the divine plan. And right here, right now, in this time, in this space, on this planet, we have a part to play in that. And that is the purpose of your life. Now you're living your life on purpose. If you accept your part in perfect love's plan for awakening, you live your life on purpose. What is that part? Well, that's the question. That's what you've got to open to, and you've got to discover. It's a journey of learning and discovery that you've got to go on, which is the hero's journey. So look at the profundity of what these lessons point to. Very, very simple pointers. He's just summarized. That's what I like about these reviews. Very, very simple, very short, very much like the sutras of ancient India, in which many of the original teachings, like the Vedas, were written in sutra form, because they're very brief and they don't engage the mind too much. They just point you to the truth and give you a pointer in that direction, so you can then go and explore it yourself, rather than giving you chapter and verse on it. And there's a lot of value in that. So then you explore it in a meditation, and you come to your own experiential conclusions. That's what these lessons are inviting you to do. So yeah, shall we do that? Dive into a meditation, and actually experience these things, and then carry on if you want, or we can call it there. So 20 minutes, that'll take us to about 20, 25 past 9. We can leave it there, or we can do a bit of text, up to you. Okay, how does that sound?
Yeah, that's great. Just do the meditation and then I'll drop off.
Yeah, okay. Kim?
To try to
Yeah,
just not at my
getting quite late there, so
energy levels a bit low today for some reasons. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
okay. So just
Yeah. Yeah.
meditate wherever you are. Just
Yeah.
meditate on these really profound
Mm.
words and teachings, and try and go beyond the words into an experience of what they're pointing to. I am spirit, or I am pure formless awareness isn't what it's pointing to. It's just a pointer to it. It's a signpost to it. I am pure formless awareness invites you to go into the experience of that awareness and actually experience that awareness for yourself, which you can only do when you quiet the mind, you give your mind time and space, you lay aside all the cares of the world, which is exactly what meditation does. And then, okay, well, show me then. Show me what pure formless awareness is. And from that perspective of knowing my true awareness, then what is my function? So very often I find answers to questions about what you should be doing in time and space come when you access pure formless awareness. This inspires you, and then subsequently you get directed. Often not almost simultaneously. You can have this thought, and then you can get guidance, and that can happen almost simultaneously. But you have to know who you are first. Being precedes any kind of doing and any kind of function. So you know who you are, you access your true awareness, and then you get guided from that awareness in playing your part in perfect love's plan for awakening. And you need to listen to that. Spirit's going to guide you by giving you thoughts, impulses, intuitions, and you're going to have a choice to listen or not. That's where the surrender starts happening. If you listen, then you're surrendering to God's will, and you're trusting it, and you're allowing yourself to be guided. And if you go, no, I'll do it my own way, even though I've heard this voice, my reason says better, I'm going to follow my own guidance, then you're denying perfect love's plan for awakening, and you're actually choosing to stay asleep. Okay, so let's practice these two ideas. Just set the intention to open yourself up to a deeper experience of the truth. So let's go into that.
Donna, can you just give me a minute? Just want to.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll start this in a minute. Get yourself ready. All right. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll put you on mute, Kim. Just making yourself comfortable, sitting with your feet shoulder width apart in your favorite meditation posture. Back straight. Cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Squeezing the sphincter muscle to lock the energy in, raise your pelvic floor. The root lock in yoga. You feel like you raising energy up the spine. Feel this warm wave of energy flowing up the spine into the crown of your head, pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. Scan your mind. Or any thoughts, any emotions, any body sensations that are unlike spirit or pure formless awareness, that are difficult, that are challenging. You might call that fear or anger, irritation, guilt, jealousy, hatred. So whatever it is, just notice it and remind yourself of the truth to counter it as you breathe in again. Say, I am spirit, or I am pure formless awareness in our translated Art of Letting Go language. Spirit is pure formless awareness. So you're claiming this pure awareness that is beyond form, that is completely pure or innocent, that is whole, that is complete. Awareness in its purest form, in its foundational form, beyond which you cannot know other awareness. That's what pure formless awareness is. That's why it is the source or God, because there is no other awareness. You say to yourself, I am pure formless awareness. I'm the Son of God, or I'm the extension of this pure formless awareness. Breathe that pure formless awareness into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is in this awareness. Say, no body can contain my spirit. No body can contain my pure formless awareness, nor impose on me a limitation. God created not, translated, nor impose on me a limitation of which pure formless awareness is not aware. So you're claiming an awareness beyond the body. You're claiming your true awareness that is not physical, that is not contained, that is not limited in or by a body in any way, shape, or form. No body can contain my pure formless awareness, nor impose on me a limitation in which pure formless awareness is not aware. So nothing the body thinks, perceives, body doesn't really think, it's just the mind that's identified with the body that thinks, the ego. But nevertheless, there's an illusion that the body has some kind of consciousness, some kind of awareness. This body cannot contain your true awareness, cannot limit it in any way, because pure formless awareness denies the body. Can't have pure formless awareness and also have form. The two contradict each other. So see that evident contradiction. Cannot be both spirit, pure formless awareness, and also physical, a body. The two realities do not hold together. One must be true and the other false. It's exactly what the Course is saying. It's non-dual position, is that only the truth is true, only spirit or pure formless awareness is true, and nothing else is true. Therefore, the domain of bodies, physical and material, everything we see outside of us is false, just a projection of our minds, designed to keep us in the prison of a separate self that believes that it is separate from pure formless awareness, believes that it is not pure formless awareness. So exhale on the truth of all this and just blow out and blow away all of these dark thoughts and energy, just blowing it away with the breeze of your breath. It's going, gone. Pull the nice stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just rest in this awareness. There's really nowhere else to go. There's nothing else to do. There's nothing else to think about. Just breathe in and out through your nose. Relax into this awareness with each breath going a little bit deeper into this pure formless awareness. Give yourself the opportunity to experience this awareness. In the quietness, in the stillness, comes when you just breathe and are still, not thinking about kinds of worldly thoughts. And in this quietness and stillness, this awareness is present. Like the very essence of stillness and quietness is this awareness. You can only be in this awareness, and only through this awareness can you be aware of stillness and quietness. So when you obscure pure formless awareness, you obscure the stillness and quietness, that you become aware of other things. And those other things are what the entire world of illusion is made up of. So you don't have to continue allowing this. There's liberation from this cycle of insanity, the cycle of birth and death, in which you seem to be doomed to continuously reincarnate and suffer, struggle, suffer, and eventually die as a body in time. How is that possible when you are pure formless awareness that is timeless and universal? So have a sense of this stillness just permeating your being with this pure formless awareness. From this awareness comes an acceptance of your true function and purpose in the world. So second idea for review refers to that and says, I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation, or alternatively, I accept my part in perfect love's plan for awakening. Say that again. I accept my part in God's plan for salvation, or in perfect love's plan for awakening. Use whichever form, the original or alternative, that works better for you. Accept my part in perfect love's plan for awakening. May work better for you, so use that if it does. And then really do that. Accept your part in this great awakening that is you are part of. It's not just for you, it's for humanity, it's for every sentient being on the planet, it's for the entire universe. So what can my function be? Ask yourself, but to accept the message of perfect love, which has extended me as I truly am and will forever be. Ask yourself that question again. What can my function be? But to accept the message of perfect love or the word of God, who has created me for what I am and will forever be. Translated, what can my function be but to accept the message of perfect love instead of the word of God, which has extended me as I truly am and will forever be. And just relax into this awareness. Ask for this part in perfect love's plan for awakening to be revealed. So reiterate to yourself, I am spirit, I am pure formless awareness. So I accept my part, God's plan for salvation, or my part in perfect love's plan for awakening. Breathe that in, that acceptance, that surrender into every pore, every cell, every muscle, your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is in the light of this true awareness. And just surrender to this awareness and its plan for your awakening for a couple of minutes of deep silence. There's really nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, and be still. Sink into the stillness. Any thoughts come in, seem to disturb this peace of perfect love, pure formless awareness, and its plan for awakening. Breathe into them and just remind yourself that I am spirit or pure formless awareness, and there really is nothing else. And I accept my part in perfect love's plan for awakening. And breathe that into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. See that anything else is illusory. Anything else is just negative awareness, darkness, we call it. So imagine that darkness. Exhale and just let everything go. The thought, anything else other than this awareness or effort or stressing, straining, striving, worries, fears, sin and guilt, attack thoughts, just drop it all into the great ocean of truth we looked at today, to the pure, formless awareness of perfect love. Nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, nothing else to think about. Just give yourself a couple of minutes to rest in this being of pure awareness. Pure formless awareness, and I am pure formless awareness. I accept my part in perfect love's plan for awakening, and just rest in that. Allow whatever experience awaits you to arise in your experience for the next 2 minutes of deep silence. So just gently coming back now into an awareness of your body and the breath, senses in the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. So just be aware, the breath, the body, and then noticing sensations of the body on the count of 2. And exhale, notice how the air flows out, chest and stomach suck back in as you do that. Notice how the air flows out of your nostrils. Energy to raise up. The inhale subsides back down, front channel of your body. Count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling with your hands on your skin. Perhaps there's a subtle flow of air in your skin, what you're touching, tasting, feeling, smelling. You're aware of all these sense perceptions, but from the perspective of spirit, or from pure formless awareness. So there's no attachment to or investment in any of these things. just a pure awareness. Shining through the dream. Shining through the light. That illuminates all the sense perceptions. Divine light in which we see all of them and perceive correctly. This is true perception. Reveals perfect love's plan for awakening. To say, I am spirit, I am pure formless awareness, and I accept my part in God's plan for salvation or perfect love's plan for awakening. So it is said and so it is done. Then on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So just take a minute to look around in the state of pure formless awareness, observing everything. It's very objective state, the pure witness, without any thoughts and emotions projected onto the world, then it becomes very clear. So you're just looking without interpretation, looking without perception. This is the enlightened way of perceiving, true perception, Christ vision, as it's called in the Course. And you have it right now as you look around. This is Christ vision, this is true perception. Not limited or limiting in any way, it just is. It's very peaceful, very joyful, very blissful. So connect with the state, anchor it in. If you need to top yourself up into the state, remind yourself of either of today's lessons or both. I am pure formless awareness, and I accept my part in perfect love's plan for awakening. And let those ideas take you back into the state and top you up. So it is said and so it is done. So I wish you an awakened and wholly aware evening. Thanks for listening, joining the session. Kevin and Elaine and anyone who joined on the live stream. More if you've watched on the recording. So that I think brings us to the end of the meditation and the session. So
Thank you, John.
Yep.
yeah,
Thank you.
only a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining. Good session. And enjoy the rest of your evening and your week. And I will connect with you again early next week, probably Tuesday or Wednesday. Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. We'll decide
Yeah.
which session works. I'll message you next week.
See you next week, everyone.
Good
Have a nice
day.
day.
Yeah. Have a
Yeah,
good,
Thanks,
holiday.
Elaine. Thanks,
have a
Kim.
good trip.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks. Good
Bye.
night.
Bye, Kim.
Stay.
Bye.
Bye.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Okay, so that is a wrap for today. If you watched the live stream or you watched the recording and you enjoyed it, and why not subscribe? I do, at the moment, 1 or 2 of these sessions a week, but that is going to increase. You can also get access to a lot of recordings. There's over 1,000 recordings of these sessions on the LifeBuild Art of Letting Go channel. If you'd like to dive a little bit more deeply than just being a subscriber, then go to lifebuild.com and you can sign up there to receive daily inspirational quotes, like I showed you earlier at the beginning of the video, the session, and my comments on that, along with some other quotes and a lesson from A Course in Miracles, including usually 1 or 2 meditations on the lesson to help you practice it, and invitations to join the live session for the day. So check it out at lifeball.com. Put in your mobile number that you use for Telegram. You will need to have Telegram installed on one of your mobile devices to access the material. But yeah, once you've signed up, you're in the group, I will send that out daily to you, and yeah, all free. And if you want to go a bit deeper, then join us in one of the live calls. I give a free trial of a full membership, which allows you to do the live calls. So join us in one of these sessions and see if you like it, and carry on with us as part of your awakening process. So that's what I wish for you, a very awakened, present and peaceful rest of your evening or day, wherever you are, whatever time you're listening to this. And thanks for listening and watching again. Hope to catch you on the inside of the group, Telegram group, or one of these live sessions soon. I put those links below in the chat, so if you want to go to lifeball.com or join a masterclass that explains more about this community, then do that. There's a link below in the comments box in YouTube. So hope to see you in the group, or maybe in person in one of these live sessions soon. Thanks for watching or listening, and namaste, which means the truth in me, the spirit, truth, pure formless awareness in me, acknowledges and honors that same truth, that same pure formless awareness in you. And wishing you much love, peace, and joy in that awareness. Bye for now.